Alrighty, all. Hello, and welcome back to the foolery of the internet. I guess people online, unfortunately for me, particularly fellow Americans, are not getting any more aware of the world and not bursting out of that iron American bubble. Today we have many examples of some recent interesting things they've been saying, to put it nicely. And also, yesterday, the day I'm filming this, yesterday was the Super Bowl. And as always, turns out the rest of the world doesn't really care. And, well, I don't blame you. Unfortunately, last night was probably the most boring Super Bowl I've seen in a long time. But that doesn't stop some Americans from going online and speaking their mind. Let's get into it. So the first one is pretty funny. We actually have Americans tweeting out on X some memes ahead of the curve, right? Because they should know by now. But instead of being aware of it, which they finally are, they're not learning, though. So this person says, Europeans are going to tweet these photos out tomorrow. And of course, they're logical memes that kind of make fun of the irony of the Super Bowl, acting like the winners world champions when they're not, acting like it's the biggest sporting event in human history when it's not. So you have the famous map, right? Super Bowl wins by country. All of them are in the U.S. No surprise, it's a U.S. league. But, logic tends to hurt some small-minded people. So then, this is a pretty good one, right? That people have shown Americans before. There's a World Cup trophy seen by 1.12 billion people, and there's 103 million, which is not a lot in comparison, 10%, and that's being generous. Let's see, the Super Bowl, the Lombardi trophy. But then you have all the comments, right? They're obsessed with America. They just don't want to admit it. Soccer's a third world game. Let's do some checking on that. I don't know about that. Let's do highest paid NFL players. This is for American football, right? Dak Prescott from the Cowboys, yearly annual salary of $60 million. Okay, so that's pretty good, right? I would love to be making it. I think any of us would love that. But $60 million per year. Now let's look up, third world poor ass soccer. Let's look up Ronaldo, right? Because poor Ronaldo is, in third world soccer. Poor thing, right? His annual earnings are approximately 244 to 280 million per year. Per freaking year. That is insane. I can't even comprehend that. And last time I checked, that's, 4, maybe 5 times higher than the highest paid NFL player. So yeah, soccer, football, it's pretty big. And I don't know how they're paying money like that if they're so third world poor, What a miracle. Now with their second world title in 4 trips, where do the Seahawks rank all time as a franchise, in your opinion? There you go, right? Look, I'm someone that grew up with American sports. I like watching NFL football. My team, the Chicago Bears, did really good this year, and they were fun to watch. That's why. Some games aren't fun, right? I could say this as a American. I could say this as a NFL fan generally. Some games are boring. There are even some Bears games that I don't watch over the years, right? And I always try to tune in for the Super Bowl because it's more of just a family excuse to get together and a tradition where I enjoy food and time with my family more than anything else. And we did this year, and I have to admit, everyone in the room thought the same thing. The game was slow. The game was boring. And if anyone international tuned into it out of curiosity, they probably would have been bored as hell. So I just feel like people can like what they like. I think people should give up saying, world champions with the Super Bowl. It just sounds corny. It sounds silly. Hey, Seattle won. They can claim that they're the champs of the U.S. for football, for NFL football. But world champions, not quite. And also, people need to just think about all the big events in the world. The Olympics are literally on right now. The World Cup is coming soon. There's various others, right? There's big motorsports. There's big, cricket games. Like the world is full of different countries and different sports. And to think the Super Bowl is the biggest in the world is just comical at this point. So come on. I actually agree with this comment a lot. It may be just me, but whenever I see franchise, I think of business rather than sports. You're right. That's the concerning thing, even as a casual fan. You could see, especially over the years, maybe even compared to, 30, 40 years ago, where there might have been more, kind of blood and sweat in the game. At the end of the day, the NFL is registered as a entertainment business in the U.S. It's not even registered as a sporting league. It's kind of interesting, huh? And these teams, it's all about money, right? When I actually learned about how it works in soccer or football, I'm saying soccer strictly because I'm talking about American football, so I don't want it to get confusing. So bear with me. But when I learned about how it works in a lot of the Euro leagues, right, it's cool because it really puts an emphasis on the teams have to play well. Otherwise, they'll end up really losing their spot and getting kicked out of the league altogether, right? I think that's a really cool concept, and it really encourages teams to, work together and get on the same page and play ball, right? And it encourages players to play ball as well and not think, hey, I got a big contract, let me just lay back and whatever, right? All right, next up, we had a comment section on another forum, and someone just pulled out the classic clueless, American patriot trope that I love to poke fun at because I heard so much of it years ago, and thankfully a lot more people are graduating their mind a little bit, right? So we have this good American, I'll point him out in a second, right? We have the dummy up top here. We're the richest, most powerful country in the history of this planet. Of course they hate us. This American is actually a fellow American, and they actually say to him, hey, this kind of talk is actually why people disapprove of our way of thinking. We are not the center of the globe, and we are not better than the rest of the world. And of course, they move the goalposts, right? But the point is, it's just so funny, right? Acting like we're the richest, most powerful country in, global history, and no one even comes close. It's like, it's so like outer space exceptionalism, right? Like, again, I always say, like, I feel like you can be proud of your country if you want to be, and if you have reasons for it. I feel like you should want to do well and stuff, but just blindly thinking you're the best all the time, I feel like sets you up for failure, right? I think that's like just a common thing for countries, for geopolitics, for sports, for really anything. Be confident, yes. Don't be cocky. There's a difference. Also, them saying that we're the richest, most powerful country when most Americans don't feel like that on a daily basis. If we're so rich that it's like should be studied, right? Like it's incredible, right? Then why don't a lot of us feel rich? Why is everything so expensive? That is when their enthusiasm and answers fall apart. Going back to sports, actually, for this one, my favorite sport growing up, I guess overall, look, I am an American. My favorite sport is baseball, right? That should come to no surprise. It's very big in the U.S. and some other countries, but I wouldn't say not on a worldwide scale. But while I absolutely love baseball and I played it for almost 20 years, it felt like this comment here is unfortunately out of touch. So let me explain why here. Hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do in sports. And it shows the pitcher, right? They pitch the ball, and of course, the hitter, you're trying to hit the ball into the field of play and, get as many bases as you can. So it takes the brain 100 milliseconds to process an image. The ball comes flying out, from a really good pitcher really fast, right? An average swing is 150 milliseconds. So they're acting like with some interesting math here that it's really hard to swing and hit the ball. And it's, as a matter of fact, it's the hardest thing to do in all of sports worldwide. And as someone who loves baseball and does think it requires, a bit of skill, right? It's a fun sport, and it's not easy to just walk up and be good at baseball. Come to find out, lots of sports take a lot of practice. And I could think of many things as a baseball lover that is harder than hitting a baseball. I think of many motorsports like rally, for example, being a lot harder and having a lot more on the line. I could think of countless Olympic sports. I mean, the Olympics are literally on right now as I'm filming this. And, flipping through the channels, seeing people jump and do twists in midair and land on skis and snowboards, skiing down a mountain at, 100 kilometers per hour. doing a, I don't know, like a backwards bicycle kick in soccer. I'm kind of throwing out random things here. I just don't think hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do in sports. That's a pretty tone-deaf take. Someone actually makes a great comment here, which I was alluding to. I agree with. If you have a reaction time of 0.4 seconds in motorsport, you'll be in the wall. Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately, this next post just takes Clueless American to a whole nother level. Yeah. The American accent is the greatest accent in the world, and that's why everyone wants it. Really? That is news to me. It really comes alive here, right, with this one. So they're responding to the guy with the blue here, why the American accent is pretty obnoxious sounding. That's their opinion. I disagree, but I wouldn't say this personally. So in rebuttal, they say, no, it's not. You're thinking of the British accent. The American accent is the greatest accent in the world, and that's why everyone wants it. The U.S. is also the reason why English is still the most widely spoken language in the world, making it the dominant English-speaking nation, and the primary reason why English has become the global lingua franca. When someone says, I want to sound like a native English speaker, by default, it would mean American. All other nations speak English with a dialect, like, for example, the British dialect. We have seen some pretty brain-dead takes in these videos over, the last couple years. This one, they're just so confidently wrong. It's almost incredible how confidently wrong they are. And they decided to type out this big paragraph, and they just kept getting more and more incorrect. I'm sorry, it is an absolutely wild take to think that English is spoken around the world because the U.S. As if the British Empire was like never a thing, right? Like, according to this person, I wouldn't put it past them to think that everywhere that speaks English is like an American enclave or something. Other countries, including Britain, they have a British dialect. Like, aka, they're just borrowing our language. Well, it's 2026, and time zones still haven't been taught in the U.S., apparently. The Australian Open, of course, is usually in January, so very recently, one of the tennis majors. Why, at Australian Open, you have consistently ruined my experience by publishing these results hours before the matches aired in the United States. ESPN didn't transmit the entire Sasha versus Alcaraz match, and now they've published the results of the final. No need to tune in anymore. Yeah, see, this thinking is the pinnacle of thinking America's the center of the world, right? The U.S. defaultism is off the charts here. It's the Australian Open. The clue there is in the name, right? It's in, you guessed it, Australia. Australia is really far away. And come to find out, they're in a different hemisphere. They have different time zones. The time of day there is different than in the U.S. Based on, physics, the way the earth is shaped, the way the sun is, something like that, right? This one is absolutely hilarious. We've seen this come up with the video games before. Apparently Americans, by Americans, I mean people here in the United States, people here in the U.S. think that all video games are made here, which is just so weird, right? I don't know where that comes from. Video games is a very international community, right? This guy thought that GTA was made in the USA. Of course, someone corrected him. GTA is made and developed in Scotland, which is true, right? Well, you can't play it without an American-made PS5, pal. Don't say you can play on computers. That's for boy connoisseurs. Boy, I have no idea what this guy's even saying, for real. But the fact that this guy thinks a PlayStation is made in America makes me chuckle. That is hilarious. Sony is famously Japanese, bro. This guy did double defaultism in one sentence, practically. Yeah. And lastly, we're going to end it with no defaultism, no stupid stuff, but something just like kind of good news I thought was kind of interesting. People want to expand upon it. I just saw this. It said France becomes the first country to force all supermarkets to give unsold food to the needy. I think this is actually really cool. And it's one of those things where I thought about it and I'm like, you know what? This is such a simple concept. Such a simple concept. Why on earth? Because I used to work at a store and I saw how much food waste there was. And they do have goofy rules. You can't take it. You can't take it home. You can't take expired stuff. And by expired, I just mean it's not allowed to be sold anymore, but you could check. And usually it's not really bad. It's just not fresh enough to put on the shelves, right? So like there's all these scenarios, but it all revolves around people like wasting, restaurants and stores wasting food. So much food. I just find it odd that you can't somehow find a second life for this type of stuff. So France clearly thinking ahead there. It's such a simple concept that should be the standard worldwide. I really don't know why it's not. It probably comes down to maybe something I'm not thinking of, or maybe it comes down to greed. I have no idea. But this, at least at face value, seems awesome. I don't know the actual in and outs of it, but if it really works like it says it does there, that's good on France. I think that's really cool. So yeah, we made it through another episode of, stupidity on the interwebs. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. And I hope to see you again. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, y'all. Catch you later.